Good evening, everyone. Welcome. My name is Joe Davich. I'm the Executive Director here at the Georgia Center for the Book. And on behalf of the Georgia Center for the Book and DeKalb County Public Library, welcome to another in our continuing series of virtual events that we started since the pandemic began in March. We thank you so much this evening for allowing us to come into your homes and sharing with you poems and other pieces of literature. This, of course, is brought to you by the DeKalb Library Foundation. The DeKalb Library Foundation is the fundraising arm of our library system that provides all the support that we need that goes beyond what our tax base does. So great programs like 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten and Take the Internet Home are all done through this fundraising arm, and the Zoom account that we're using this evening was purchased for us by them. So we thank the DeKalb Library Foundation for providing this platform in order for us to continue our programming efforts. Also, this evening, Little Shop of Stories has those available for you to order. And we did send the poets book plates for them to sign. So there are a limited number of signed book plates. If you order early, you can get a signed copy of the books. And our assistant, Allie, has provided that link for you in the chat. And we will put that on the event as well later on once we post it on Facebook. Just a few other things. Don't forget, keep yourself muted to cut down on the background noise. After the reading, if you would like to ask the poets a question, feel free to either type it into the chat and I will read it to them, or if you would like, use the raise your hand feature on the upper right-hand side of the screen, and you can ask it to either poet yourself. But right now, I would like to turn it over to Colin Kelly from Poetry Atlanta, friend to the Georgia Center for the Book, and for years has put together these very exciting, innovative, and powerful poetry programs every other month. And we are so thankful that he has decided to continue to do this during the pandemic. And we hope one of these days when this is all over, that we will be back in the auditorium of the library with a big old bang up program to where we can actually live and support a poet. But please feel free to make your own snapping signs. We do encourage this, support a poet. So thank you for coming and joining us this evening. Colin, over to you.
Thanks, Joe. It is really exciting. I was planning the July event and I was like, who do I want? And I had been corresponding back with Tara on Facebook and Twitter about a project she's working on. And I was like, I need to get Tara Betts for Poetry Atlanta, and I need to get Allison, because I love Allison, and I've never actually got to see Allison read before, so I was very excited. So I'm very excited this evening to introduce you to them and for all of you out there to listen to their brilliant poetry. So I'm going to introduce them. Tara's going to read first, and then Allison. So let me read some bios here, and we'll get started. Tara Betts is the author of 2 poetry collections, Break the Habit, Arc and Hue, and the forthcoming Refuse to Disappear. She also co-edited the Beiging of America and edited a critical edition of Philippa Schuyler's Adventures in Black and White. Her work has appeared in the Breakbeat Poets, The Long Term, Essence Magazine, Poetry Magazine, and many other publications. In 2019, Tara published a poem celebrating Illinois' bicentennial with Candor Arts. And Allison Joseph lives and writes in Carbondale, Illinois, where she is on the creative writing faculty at Southern Illinois. Her latest books are The Last Human Heart from Diode, Smart Pretender from Finishing Line Press, and Confessions of a Barefaced Woman from Red Hen Press. She is the widow of acclaimed poet and editor, the wonderful and much missed Jon Tribble. So thank you both for being here so much. I really appreciate it. So we're gonna turn it over to Tara Betts.
Oh, wow. Thank you guys for inviting Allison and myself. And it's always an honor to share space with other poets and with my co-feature, Allison Joseph, who has done so much to really support other poets in her own work, is so prolific. I'm like, God, she put out another book. Like, I need to speed this up. So but I'm gonna read some new poems because I'm realizing that it's like you know, these poems are kind of living in perpetuity through videos where people can watch them. So I'm going to try to read a new poem that hasn't been published yet. It's being translated into Spanish. And then I'm going to read a couple of other new poems. And then I'm going to read a couple poems from Break the Habit, which the book plates are really cool, guys. I was like, they put the spider on the book plates. So I'm very happy about that. And I hope you guys enjoy this book if you get a book with a book plate. I'm gonna read one of the first poems in this book to start. This is called Prophetic Fragments, and it's based on, well, the poem tells itself. Prophetic Fragments. Prophecy is rendered as whole mythic animal. It twists limbs free and open, wide billowing spread of white, dragging reams over daylight. People turn their heads, ignore quiet attrition. I mince downstairs with a tender ankle and sore foot, lean into a railing with weight a lover never held. There is no easy sweep that foretells what comes. Besides, one day, steady breath stops. I count inhalations as I deliberately deposit weight on each foot. Underneath, a house's foundation gradually crumbles. The water may be poisoned beyond redemption. It runs, wears away rock, cuts down soil, carries wet in small measures. Prophecy announces titles like Liberation, filling my bag with paperbacks and hardcover spines by poets and preachers, like I did that morning when a man sat in a dust-beaten truck listening to the pundit yelling about university students touting liberation theology while sitting in living rooms of dangerous radicals. His truck windows are open and his radio blares. I silently admit truth. I have done all those transgressions, part of a list longer than this diatribe or James Cone's heavy tome in my book bag. He pulls off without looking at me. I lift my bag strap, bring it closer while I walk to the bus stop. We head to different destinations. Both of us will eventually become dust, but prophecy calls, insists that the future will fragment the myth that he listens to and expects. Yeah, we'll come back to this. Well, you know what? I'll do the two poems now from this book. So, Mahogany Brown did an anthology a while back, I think, or it was something she was working on. And I wrote this poem thinking about all the things women do to avoid being assaulted. Like, what are the steps you take that people never think about? So it's just called Unsteady Directions, and I'll leave it at that. Random improvised directions kept me safe. None are certified, foolproof, impervious. We walk under streetlights or in the middle of the street, never in the shadows, near alleys or dark doorways. Look directly into faces that follow you too closely. Pour drinks into sinks, toilets, plants, out of windows. Keep keys twined between fingers. Steel knuckles spike to greet tender spaces that should miss your soft. Walk with friends. Watch for folds where trust creases. Only wear clothes that allow you to run, kick, or punch. Be able to take down a man. Incapacitate attackers, 1 or 3. If hit, feel the welt rise warm just once. Even smart women forget this rule when they tuck their joys carelessly into purses, dangle them like precious stones, unaware that thieves make ears ring for the pawn shop. What kept me safe was quiet Fridays with fewer parties. That was no guarantee either. I fought boys fumbling with buttons, and an older boy who shoved an ashy branch of fingers down my 7-year-old jeans. My small fist screams in daylight. The threat of a father less than a block away were my repellents. No one warned me about whispered rumors that I liked it, wanted it. He was not the only one. The murmurers could care less. Master, no, at the highest volumes possible. Take instructions from men and women that permit all limbs to speak martial fluently. If parents are shields, hold nothing. If parents fail or blame, find fortress to release whatever wounds. These directions may or may not help. Each step creeps toward what instructions should be. Guidelines, safe keep, uncracked smiles, unbruised kisses, unshaken, steady. So those are from Break the Habit. Thank you for snaps. I don't know if I really expect snaps when it's so, but I love y'all. I wrote this one on a more affirmative note because I was thinking about, because we're in such crazy times, and I don't know if any of you are doing media fasts or social media fasts, but this is a good time to start a gratitude journal. This is a good time to talk to the people who you get therapeutic or spiritual guidance for, because we've never had anything like this. So I say that to hopefully encourage people to stay positive and not be in a bad space. Poetry helps with that sometimes, but sometimes we need a little more than poetry. But I hope this is a little bit of an affirmation. So this is a poem called Joy Don't Fold or Jangle. In this dystopian viral fog, we somehow manage to dance. In these times where we wonder about evictions and bread, billy clubs and erratic fireworks, bursting skin and nightly sleep, we laugh. We remember Bill Withers and Prince. We celebrate Betty Wright and Gwendolyn Brooks. There are litanies of names braiding our histories to pride and terror. And we say, you have not devoured our clapping, our embraces, our almost solar smiles. We will not give all of them to the ugly. What is hideous in the world has not earned that privilege. What it has was stolen. We are no longer shushing thieves like arrogant children. We demand that they restore, apologize, repair, unlearn, relearn, a world where joy is not for sale, where the currency be lives or paper. So, new poem. And it's funny how quickly all these anthology calls popped up for people to do pandemic poems, and it's been so weird to try to write them. I don't know if other poets are feeling that conundrum right now, but for me, it's like, if I don't feel like writing that day, I'm not writing that day. I got other stuff to do and just feel like I'm okay with staying healthy. So, when it has come up, it's been strange. It hasn't been like, this is my poem about the COVID, which I don't think that's really always a healthy way to approach a poem in a 24-hour news cycle kind of fashion. So I'll read the first one and then I'll read two other ones. Broken Glass. After we were told to stay indoors, my neighborhood turned silent. My ears rang in the quiet. My upstairs neighbor's footsteps creaked above my ceiling. Her cat thud to the floor, or an occasional outdoor outside my apartment closed. Someone bottled all the laughter and weekend party music heavy on the air around my block. Where I live on the first floor and hear my neighbors exit and enter like I'm the nosy old woman peeking out of a window or sitting on my porch while wearing an old green sweater and sipping coffee. My short haircut grew out about a month ago, lacking a stylist's snips and touch. Touch sounds like some ancient technology that I explained to teens, like LPs, rotary phones, dial-up, or God forbid stamps. But this is about sound. Its absence filled the empty funnels of my ears while I sat in my living room and watched some unmemorable television show to drown out feeling some warm egg of grief breaking open in my chest. While I sat there, trying not to count the dead, worry the rent, or wonder if I will have enough food to last, I heard glass shatter just beyond my porch. For seconds, the crash of breaking glass meant someone's getting cut, or their house is being raided, or the shit is about to pop off, and there's no graceful metaphor when thumping feels faster beneath my collarbone. I look around because I have no guns, nothing like my father's rifle cabinet to keep my own windows intact. I take a breath and peek through the blind slats. There is a girl, crouched low and holding potted plants. Her two tiny succulents have been salvaged from the ceramic fragments and loose soil. She cradles them while talking into a cell phone. When I step onto my porch, I explain, I heard you. I wanted to make sure everything's okay. I heard breaking glass. She blusters and blushes a bit, says she is okay. Her friend is coming, but I know she has no idea what terror bears its teeth from broken glass, whether it be theft or death. My breath gets deeper when I go back inside and think of how loud a broken silence is. So, snap, snap, snap. I see you, Joe. It's so weird to read to such a quiet kind of space. So, I know everybody loves when you do animal poems, right? But it's always a cat, dog, or a dog poem that brings people joy. But I don't really write a lot of those. I haven't had a pet since I was a little kid. But I had a neighbor who was a dog for a little while. His name was Priest. So this is a poem for Priest. I miss him wherever he is. Priest the pit bull. Priest the pit bull greeted me the first day he moved into my building. His tan fur shining as he wiggled. At least 3/4 of his body wagged when I patted his head and stroked his sinewed back. His mouth, open and panting, made up at least half of his face, full of teeth, but gently smiling. I called his name, shouted to him and the other neighbors when I heard his ticking claws on the hallway tiles. I laughed about Ron O'Neal playing his namesake in Superfly. He'd quietly trot over to me and let me pet him. He never needed a leash. Nothing felt like fear gnashing its teeth into the back of my hand. I grew up with dogs who never clamped without letting go, but I make a habit to return kindness to other living beings, even when the world marks them as dangerous. And I guess for the last poem, this is probably my most recent one that I feel like I finished. I have some cans of beans in my kitchen. I am a fan of the gandules with the olives and sazon in the rice. I made for my last Christmas party, I made a huge pot because it's the best party dish ever. However, I think I'm going to have to outsource my beans because Bob Unanui really upset me when he was on the White House steps praising someone who has been playing golf for the past 5 days instead of addressing what's happening with the health pandemic right now that affects everyone, not just in America, but also all over the world. So I had to write a poem for Bob. I don't think Bob knows me, cares about me, but I'm like, dang, I'm just gonna have to eat the Goya that's in my kitchen and then find some other stuff. But because beans are life. I love beans. Here's the last poem. It kind of borrows from his speech. So the title taken from that is We Are Far From Blessed. For Bob Unanui. I think I'm saying it right. I hope I am. Oh, grandson of immigrants, crisp in a blue suit as you stood on the White House lawn, and you ignore a president who would have deported your grandfather. Your abuelo, who understood warm prayers live in families' pots, who savored small pieces of home to fill bellies and thought, let me stock grocery store shelves, nourish every smile growing new teeth for children far and close to home. He imagined families stirring the pot of familiar where goy starts like oi and ends with a huff like an angled A, like heavy as an African goddess draped in purple and hurricanes. Oya remembers all your words like Goya, echoing, go away, ya basta. If your grandfather hears those words, as people turn from gandules, mix adobo and dodge dyed sazon and other gifts settling and disappearing from pots, I hope the leader you praised stacks the bricks of your doom. As children are thrown into cages and lost, may 10 ears be the wells of your pleas. You say, build, pray, prosper, like the people who stock your cans and spend dollars to eat their way to another day. You fail to build, pray, prosper. You destroy, curse, ignore. Don't you understand? If your people aren't blessed, neither are you. You turned every Goya label into a hex. Uncross yourself while you can. So, thank you guys. And, you know, I'll say this to close out. Literature is more important than ever. Poetry, yes, love a poet, buy poetry, and support your favorite nonprofits that support literary endeavors, support your libraries who are really going to be trying to find all the measures that they can to be safe, and local bookstores. So thanks again, Poetry Atlanta, Colin, Joe, Allison.
Thank you, Tara. That was fantastic. It was great.
Thank
so you. Now we're going to turn it over to Allison Joseph.
Hi, everyone. I'm talking to you from Carbondale, Illinois, thrilled to be reading with Tara Betts. We go way, way back. I have flashbacks of Tara and I being in the back seat of a van on the CSU campus, going to the Gwendolyn Brooks Center. So I am so thrilled to be part of this and to share poetry. Through the pandemic, maybe the one good thing is how active poets have been in finding new venues for their work and finding new ways of bringing the word to people. So I'm so grateful to be part of this. As was mentioned in my bio, I am a widow. My husband, Jon Tribble, was my favorite person. He was a poet from Little Rock, Arkansas, but we made our home here in Carbondale, Illinois, where both of us worked to bring poetry to people. So I've been starting my readings, reading a poem of his. Tomorrow will be day 300 without him in my life. And I'm not gonna pussyfoot it, it's incredibly hard. And it's also incredibly hard having lost someone in the face of the pandemic. He died in October, so before this all happened, but yes, my heart goes out to everyone who has lost someone in the face of what we've been dealing with. This is a poem of Jon's from his second book, which is called And There Is Many a Good Thing. It is available from Salmon Poetry. This is a poem he would often close readings with, And I'm not gonna lie, it's a love poem for me. It's called The Divine, for AJ. I cannot sing, but I can listen. The voice of notes reaching and stretching, testing the muscles of what sound can be, should be, if we were only ear, only hearing clear and transcending the clamor of city streets, rough, malodorous push and shove, the traffic of life's be there, should have been, yesterday, tomorrow morning. But if the night were the warmest cave, the primal blanket to layer and comfort our tired feet, to feed a flame of shadow and light together, then pure, yes, pure tone would be the echo and resonance, the never-ending claim to live in the lasting growl and coo of her voice as my funny Valentine fades and never disappears, as the final note possesses Sarah Vaughan, possesses us, documents the sound we should define as pain, as regret, as love and loss, as human. John was a big music person, so that poem was inspired by Sarah Vaughan's recording of the popular standard My Funny Valentine, and he would often, like I said, close readings with that poem while I'd sit and blush in the audience. So I'm going to read a few poems from two recent books. One is called The Last Human Heart, and it premiered in March 2020. It's from Diode Editions, wonderful publisher. And I am a pretty active exerciser. I run, I walk, I bike, but due to my upbringing in the Bronx, New York, I never learned to swim. So this poem is a fear poem. If you're ever stuck and you're a poet and you're like, what do I write about? There are these online lists of phobias and philias, and just choose one and write about it. So this one is aquaphobia. Aquaphobia. In my dreams, I am always drowning, always that scared girl, toes curled over, the edge of a public pool, suit straps sliding off my shoulders, fearful all the boys will see her flat chest, ruffled two-piece suit soggy, sweaty. Always the water churns an ugly blue, chlorine gagging my breathing, making me turn my head and cough like at the doctor's, except no kindly nurse hands me a sucker here. Instead, I'm the sucker, so afraid of sinking that I'm ripe for any troublemaking boy to trip and push me into that city pool where the signs above say, no running, no horseplay, no spitting, swim at your own risk. And before I can say no, I'm a sunken stone, heavy but flailing, a skinny bag of bones, terribly uncute. Is it any wonder now, adult, I cannot even float? That the swim instructor, baffled, wonders, how can you run and bike, but not swim? I laugh, tell her, I don't trust water. And really, I don't. It lies about how deep it is, comes crashing uninvited into basements, aids and abets hurricanes. No one should trust anything that beautiful that causes that much damage, anything capable of bloating you up, soaking you dead, leaving you wasted on the shore. So I teach poetry here at Southern Illinois, go Salukis, and I love formal poetry. I write free verse, formal verse. I write anything I can wrap my brain around. This next poem is a villanelle, which is a form that repeats, and you'll hear the repeated lines. And I also love trivia. So this poem was born out of learning the fact that the word stanza, which everyone knows in a poem, poems are in stanzas, it means room in Italian. I'm like, I like that. I'm going to write about that. After learning that stanza means room in Italian, outfit a poem as you would a home. Move in what's difficult, what's more serene, to rooms you wander through to make your own. Seek words as wild as textures, chintz to chrome, from plush velvet to slickest gabardine. Outfit a poem as you would a home. Lay down your remnants, hang up what you have sown, a cloth of words as crisp as crinoline, in rooms you wander through to make your own. Take all your boxes, all that you've outgrown, and carry those into those old routines. Outfit a poem as you would a home. Then sort through what you have, all you have known, and fill the apt spaces, those gaps between, those rooms you wander through to make your own. There's nothing in your life you must disown. Equip this house with everything you've seen. Outfit a poem as you would your home. Loved rooms you wander through, then make your own. So those are a couple poems from The Last Human Heart. And I'm going to close reading a few poems from Smart Pretender, which came out last year from Finishing Line Press. And since being widowed, I've tried to figure out how to live on my own. I haven't lived on my own for about 30 years. Jon and I were married for 27 years, and we knew each other for 30 years. We met in graduate school back in 1988. So it's been a huge adjustment trying to be alone. And particularly, I know a lot of people are feeling the isolation of the pandemic. You can't go out, or shouldn't go out to eat, or go out to a bar, and church is pretty much off limits, and poetry readings the way we traditionally know, and I adore poetry readings. I love poetry readings face to face. I love being in a crowd. I'm often tagged the person that if a poet is reading, look at Allison because she'll laugh at your jokes and she will sigh at the sad parts. So I really miss that community. But these virtual readings are allowing us to connect with poets all over the country and all over the world. So I hope when we are past this that the virtual readings continue alongside in life face-to-face readings. But that isolation is underscored in this next poem. The woman who lives in my house. The woman who lives in my house is a glutton, a slob, a cookie whore, carbohydrate slut bent on licking salt off every cracker, then putting them back in the pack. Other me is nasty, walking around naked to tease the local dogs, dancing on flat feet to no music but her own calloused slap, slap on tile. Other me wakes up and leaves you with the alarm on. She breaks shot glasses, reading glasses, glass figurines you've owned for decades. She dines and dashes, won't do dishes or laundry, but she'll eat every dessert in your house, dropping layer after layer of clothes she won't put where clothes should be put, hampers or baskets or hellholes. That woman sneezes on order, scatters germy wishes everywhere. Fat chance she'll change for you, for any of us, devoid, deficient. I can't tell if she cares that I wrote all this about her naked body so damn in love with itself, you won't get an inch of mirror space. So this next poem, I write a lot of poems to other poets, living or dead, it doesn't matter. And for a long time, I read Emily Dickinson because people made me read Emily Dickinson. You'd read her in school and you'd find out about her. And she just didn't click for me for a long time. And now she finally has. So this is me talking to Emily Dickinson. To Emily Dickinson, Emily, my good woman, great spinster poet of those attic decades, persisting in your strange rhymes and hymnal rhythms, I confess to you, your life was not as I wanted it to be. Spectral vision of Amherst haunting all New England, plain-faced diva of the divine. All my teachers told me to admire you, but all I saw was that pallid face, gazing to nowhere, those clothes so stiff and burdensome that I never wanted to be you, call you mother or sister, no desire to recite your spidery lines at school, not wanting death among my third grade dioramas. I lived in the America of TV sets and roller skates, flash dance and Barbie dolls, Jet magazine and rainbow suspenders. I was an instrument for everything but you. Everything glowing and plastic, everything shimmering and glitter-faced, jelly shoes and bazooka gum. Lace collars and center-parted hair worked for you, but I needed a high-top fade, corduroy patches, garbage pail kids. Still, you did not stop for death. Still, you lived in a corner of my imagination, a willow I could pull out, a stranded tree, a locket with a sepia photograph, a feathered thing I couldn't put away, bundled fascicles with their trellised words gathered like so many sachets, so many letters. Who can deny you now, despite all your white fragility, unrequited loves, handwritten dashes? I envy that attic in this noisy, fatuous world. I envy your quiet. Accept this tribute from me, common scribbler seeking solace, salvation, so different from you, so near to your wild nights. So the last poem I'll read is the title poem from this book, Smart Pretender. I'm a kind of fake it till you make it person. So when it came to poetry, I was always in love with it, but there's that swelling of anyone, I think, who pursues a creative discipline, whether it's poetry or music, that you're pulling something over on people if you get any measure of success. It's called, imposter syndrome. And I often feel that. So this is sort of a comic take on imposter syndrome. Smart pretender. I used to sleep with poets. I used to steal their rhymes. And trying not to blow it, I'd steal their finest lines. I'd steal their every image, their similes and style. Whatever I could manage, I'd salvage for my pile. Before they'd rise, I'd shuffle through all their scribblings, stealing all their struggles and all their ramblings. I'd pack my mind with everything that they would write about. I'd imitate their rhythms and push away the doubts about my limitations, about my lack of skills. The art of imitation supported me until I found my independence, my small enchanted voice. No longer a dependent, I read them now by choice. I used to sleep with poets, but now they sleep with me. And though they might not know it, I'm in their legacy. I welcome every poet who wants under my skin. What you'll find below it is what you need within. Thanks so much for having me, Poetry Atlanta.
Thank you, Allison. That was fantastic. Thank you so much. I love that last poem. I really do. I love that one so much. Tara, thank you so much too for being here. I really appreciate it. We're open for questions. If someone has a question, if you use the raise your hand feature, and then you can be unmuted, or if you put it in the chat, we can read it to the poets. So whichever you like. If anyone has any questions, I see a lot of praise for both of you in here in the chat.
Yes, yeah, a lot of great comments. Great, telling you how great of a set it was. Heartwarming poems. And yes, Kina, we also agree that these virtual readings have been a lifesaver for a lot of folks. And, you know, we do see them continuing. They're pretty much part of the furniture now. So even if we're back to live readings, you can probably expect to see them recorded. You know, for an organization that loves printed matter, we now have a YouTube channel that these are going to go on and you know, continue to live on. So
that's right. So if you came in late to this one, or there's someone you know who didn't get to see this, it will be up on the YouTube channel when, Joe? Tomorrow?
That's up to Allie, because
Okay.
she will probably close caption these also for our hearing impaired people.
Fantastic.
It will be up on Facebook tomorrow. And
Facebook tomorrow. Fantastic. Thank you.
It'll take a little longer to get it on YouTube because I am editing the captions, but it'll be there.
We appreciate that. Well, thank you for doing that, Allie. And yeah, so if you go on Facebook tomorrow, you'll be able to watch this again and share it around with for those who should have been here tonight to see it. So I don't see any questions. So just a reminder to go to Little Shop of Stories, to the website, and buy a book. Allison and Tara signed special book plates to go into their book. So you're getting something very special, limited edition, I guess you could say. So, and you're supporting Little Shop of Stories, which is a fantastic local Atlanta, Decatur bookshop. So we got to support those indie bookstores too, because they are the lifeblood. So yes, support your local indies, support your local poets. So Tara, Allison, thank you again so much for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. It was just fantastic.
Thank you. It's been too long, Colin. And Joe,
It
thank
has.
you. And everybody else, other Allison.
I hope we can all get together and do this in person sometime, maybe next year or soon, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been too long since I've been to Atlanta.
It has. I remember the last time you were here because I drove you to your hotel.
Oh my God.
Remember that for the Decatur Book Fest?
Long time.
It was a long time. So yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. So it's time.
Wow.
Oh, can you repeat the names of their books?
Absolutely. So of course, Finishing Line Press, Poetry, and Trio House Press tonight. Trio House Press is Break the Habit, which is Tara Betts. Then Finishing Line Press has Allison's books. Oh, I can't see the title. Smart
Pretender.
Smart Pretender.
Smart Pretender. And if you're ordering those books, either with the book plates or from your local bookstore, wherever you may be, and yes, we see Manila is in the house this evening. Thank you. Early morning, waking up early and coming out to the poetry reading. Just go ahead and have them throw in a copy of And There Is Many a Good Thing by Jon Tribble. Salmon Poetry did it. For photographing that lovely cover called The Blue Leaf as well, poet and artist. As I always say, love a poet, buy poetry. We will see you all again very, very soon. Thank you for coming out tonight. Thank you for letting us into your homes. We hope you enjoyed the time with us, and we will see you all again very, very soon. Have a good evening.
Bye, everybody. Thanks again.
Thank you. Be safe.
Good night. You too.
All right.